Cool. Yeah. So we were talking about the rise of portalism and how it's how it's kind of outshining juggling right now. That's what I was kind of saying. Is like people aren't really. It seems like people aren't really checking for juggling anymore. I rarely see people posting like a lot of juggling videos. But I'm gonna actually get into more juggling.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a certain world that's becoming more. The scratching is like kind of growing in and with. But when you go to a battle or whatever, it's still, you can't just get up and cut. And I don't think we'll ever get to that point. You have a better chance of getting up and juggling straight up and minimal cuts and winning than you do scratching. And that's why I miss things like the ITF and stuff like that. That were just dedicated scratch battles. But I think it's dope now with a lot of the rise of these online scratch battles that are showing up now. You got Skratcher that's done a few.
To me, I see them as equal. Like I wish they in the competitions it was like 5 minutes of juggling, 5 minutes of scratching.
Yeah.
I would love to see like 3 minutes of juggling, 3 minutes of scratching.
Yeah. I mean,
usually it's like 80%. Scratching is just kind of like filler in between.
Just filler in between. Yeah. And I get it. Because the majority of crowds don't really. Understand scratching the way that I think scratch nerds do.
Exactly.
Scratch nerds. That's all we want to do. We just want to go up and cut, and that's it. Listen to cuts. I mean, not to discount juggles or anything like that, because I love hearing good juggles. But when you get in with scratch nerds and scratch nerds get together, it's just like a jam session.
Exactly. So what would you say what's the first battle that you saw?
First battle I saw in person.
Yeah.
Ooh, shit, was this the first one that I was in? I think it was the first one I was in.
Oh, wow, when was that?
Wait, I'm trying to think. I think it was, okay, so Guitar Center used to do,
I remember
what was it? The Scratch Off or something? Was it I think it was called the Scratch Off or something like that. But in any case, the Guitar Center battles, Spin-Off, the Guitar Center, the Spin-Off. So I started doing that. That was back in like '99, I think.
Wow, okay.
And
cool.
there was like Johnny Fraze was in it. It was a bunch of like the Jersey turntables, but I didn't know anybody because I was late coming to the internet. So I was, just like I said before, I was just sitting home scratching. I didn't give a shit about internet, social media, whatever. It wasn't even social media, but I didn't know about any of the stuff that was going on. I didn't know that there were battle records. I didn't, I hadn't seen videos and stuff like that. All I just had was, what I heard on the radio and stuff like that. I didn't see anything. I just learned all by ear. But that battle when I showed up there, I thought I was nasty because I grew up at the time. I grew up in Morris County, New Jersey, so there wasn't a whole lot of battle DJs. There was like one other cat that we went at. A few times, and it was peace. But I didn't get into a real battle. So when I got into the real battle scene. And these dudes like Johnny Fraze and a few other dudes that were in this joint, I forget who else was in it, but that took my tongue. But in any case, I'm seeing these kids and this is just my mentality back in the day, and I think it's funny considering now the world the turntable is and how big Filipinos and Asians are in it. But there was a bunch of Filipino cats, and I'm like, these Asian kids doing over there, like I never showed, it was just like black and Spanish people that was mainly the kids that I was DJing with and whatnot. So I'm seeing all these Asian, I'm like, man, this is gonna be easy. And then these guys got on with their battle records and all that, the beats for jugglers and all that, and I was like, what? I'm like seeing all these patterns and crazy cuts. I'm like, mind you, I hadn't seen videos, so I didn't really know. I had heard about the crab scratch.
I didn't
see anything. There was some scratch shit out in Denmark, I think, that I might have seen like soon after that, because after I found out about the scratch records, I started, I found Turntable Lab online, and this was again before they had the brick and mortar store. So I think.
Oh, so you knew them when they had because I went to school with them, and we all went to Stern.
Oh.
And they dropped out, and they became millionaires. They became rich.
Dude.
And they had they started out with that little small spot over by the Holland Tunnel, right?
I don't even know that one.
No. It was like a storage facility, and they were selling stuff online out of a storage facility.
Okay.
And then they just expanded from there, and now they're both close to Empire, you know.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jasper.
Yeah, the turntable lab changed my life.
Yeah.
As the TTM, you know, who I got gifted this Skratcher's Bible basically through Turntable Lab, you know, and it just, you know, but yeah, that first battle taught me a lot about things, about, you know, just the whole, you know, turntable, it was bigger than I had ever imagined, and yeah, I think that was my first like real like foot into like the turntablist community, even though it took me about 15 years to like really make way and, you know, get over my own, you know, social insecurities and awkwardnesses and whatnot, if that's even a word.
I think mine was New Yorican. I think Rocky Lamont was throwing a show, shout out to Rocky, where it was just like, you know, like an open turntable thing.
Yeah, I have the original flyer to that. It's a bookmark. Yeah, it was a yellow, it was just called,
what was it? You know?
Turntablist. It just said like turntablist on this thing, and it was like
like
open. It was like open turntables, you know, come through you know, every Tuesday or something like that.
That was the first time I scratched in public, and I was like, oh, I'm so scared. You know, I was like, you know, teen, I guess, yeah, older teen.
Here we are.
Exactly, here we are. So what do you think about the future of turntablism? Actually, let's talk before we talk about the future. Let's talk about the past, since we're both 90s DJs. It's great to find out you've been scratching since the 90s. I've been scratching since the 90s. Some cats have only been scratching for 5 years, you know?
Yeah.
And there's amazing cats out there that have only been scratching for
very
5
true.
years.
Yeah,
So it shows it's not how long you do something, it's about how you're practicing and what you're practicing.
Exactly.
Because you can scratch, I know I got homies that have been scratching longer than me, and they're at, you know, a level that they were way back then, you know. Some people, you know, don't keep up with new styles, and that's why it's cool to see, you know, cats like ourselves that are, you know, keeping up with the new styles.
Absolutely,
you know?
I agree.
Like so like skateboarding. How would you say, as far as like in the '90s, what were your like major things that you were seeking to do as a DJ? Like what were your objectives? Like what were you? Because in the '90s, I was like, I wanted to be like DJ Clue or something, and like, yeah, and also like from Master Flex, where I was like, yeah, I can scratch and backspin, and I'm making a cool tape, and you know, I say something in between the song or whatever. You know, like what were you doing? You know, like as far as making mixes or things like that.
Well, I started with you know, mixtapes. Doing at first, I think I just did a basic, you know, played music and recorded it
on actual cassettes.
On actual cassettes.
Great, actual cassettes.
45 minutes on each side. I think I started with like the 120s, and then I started, you know, getting mixtapes. You know, because I had family up in the city, so I was coming up in the summers all the time. So I was getting the Chill Will mixtapes, the Ron G mixtapes, and all that. So I was like, okay, 45 minutes is the standard, so let me start doing those. But then I started, you know, when I started hearing these guys, especially Chill Will, you know, the Masterpiece 4 changed my life. Hearing, you know, acapellas with 3 different instrumentals and like, you know, it just cuts out, and then all of a sudden it's just like, and throwing in the next beat over, you know, when it's, I'm like, how can I do that with what I have? Because I'm like, how are these guys doing it? So I would record, you know, my whole 45 minutes, you know, side. I had it all planned out and everything. And I would leave, you know, if I had an acapella and I had 3 different instrumentals for it, I would play the first instrumental, leave the second hook and verse or whatever it was blank, and then throw in the third instrumental. Do that whole side, and then take that side and play it through a player tape deck into the one channel, the left channel, and then over the right, fill in all the blank spaces, and then, you know, and then I had my recorder deck recording exactly what I was doing, you know, to get the feel that I had, you know, either a 4-track or.
So you were putting it through multiple times. That's so cool, because there's always more than one way to do anything. You know, if you're trying to mix something, there's a lot of different angles you can do the same way. There's never one way to make something, to make a song. And that's so cool.
It's very true. Yeah,
exactly.
Learned a lot about sound quality at that point too, because then, you know, the parts with the one beat, you know, it'd have to be the hardest hitting beat, because it's just sounded so much better than the rest of the tape.
Oh, going through it twice.
Because it went through it twice, and I wasn't, you know, a master recorder. I had Techniques tape deck. It wasn't anything crazier, you know.
Exactly, and that's a general note on science too. The idea of when you're making copies and regenerations of things, those copies tend to be less perfect than the original, and then the copy, you know, it tends to degrade over time. The more you make copies of copies of copies of copies.
Yeah,
you know?
Even with the digital
once
stuff.
or twice, it's like, yeah, right. Even with digital stuff, yeah. Exactly. So, and then you're talking about, I think before thinking about the 4-track. So you moved on. You started using 4-tracks after that, or?
Not to make mixtapes. I started when I was able to finally buy a 4-track type recorder. I got a digital one, and at that point I was getting more into experimenting with scratches and composition of songs. So I would do. I guess it was. I wonder if it was before Wave Twisters came out, but it was the same. It was a similar concept. Like the beat, scratch the beat, and then scratch in the hi hat and scratch, do all multi-layer stuff. It wasn't anything great.
That's dope,
but it was
still.
Those
recordings?
I probably do if I
wow. What year?
Like 99.
Wow, 99. That's great.
I'd have to find them. I definitely.
Classic.
Yeah, I'll look for them.
Make sure to upload it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. So you were doing that, and myself, I think I went from just plugging in, like trying to do a live mix, to using a digital 8-track. I remember I got a digital 8-track, and I did like a mixtape or two like that. And then I just started doing it just with Logic and going straight into Logic, just like.
Yeah, that's what it ended up being
Towards
after
the
a
end,
while.
yeah.
Because then you just went and got the Mac. I had the old dome piece Mac or whatever. I put Cubase in there, and
exactly, yeah.
And then that was a whole other level for mixtape. So then I started putting, I have a couple of those, all that stuff I have. I know I definitely have that.
It was question. Do you ever use old programs? Because I still use. This is one of my mastering secrets. I still use an old Peak.
Oh yeah.
Peak. I mean, not old Peak. I use Peak too. I have Peak, but I use the old T-Rax.
I don't know.
T-Rax was like this mastering suite that came out in the late 90s,
From the same company.
And they still have it now. Maybe it's not from Peak, but it's called T-Rax.
Okay.
And it's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex as their logo. And it's like a mastering suite, but I still use the OS 9 version of it.
Oh.
I had like a computer from 2004 that can still run like an old OS 9 classic version.
Yeah.
And in classic I can open that little program and it'll still master and export, but sometimes it crashes. It's too big. I tried a couple times,
Right, I know about it.
But it sounds, but I like the sound better though. Like when they went from Logic 5 to the new Logics, I feel like when they went, when they stopped making it for PC, and they changed from like OS 9 even to OS 10, the sounds changed different. It was a little bit different.
Okay.
Like,
I haven't noticed as far as the sound quality going down. But I got to get back on my digital recording game.
Exactly.
I just do it all now in Serato. I just record my mixes in there. There's kind of no need anymore for the 4-track, the tricks or anything like that. I feel like with all the mixer tricks and buttons and whatnot and setting stuff up, you can just boom and just kind of do it all out. I'd much rather just do it straight up manually than doing that. I still do some layer stuff sometimes in there.
Do you think the prices are ever going to drop? Because now, like what you're talking about, for the viewers that don't know, these are really expensive mixers. The mixers that have all these buttons and stuff now, it's like $1,200, $2,000. These are very expensive mixers. And do you think that the prices will ever drop to where it's like how I was just saying off camera? I just bought a new laptop for like $178. It's like, wow, this is crazy. It's touchscreen. I'm like, that's amazing. Why can't mixers be, if a laptop that's doing that complex stuff can do that, why can't a mixer be, a really amazing mixer be like $200, And I think that might eventually start to happen as things drop. So you were saying you came out of skateboarding. In the past in the show we've talked about parallels between skateboarding and the culture of turntablism, like even like with the dirt style videos kind of being like kind of skate videos where everybody's goofing off and and skate videos were always kind of like that, and that's part of the skate culture. I feel it's a similar culture, and I think it could be just as big as skateboarding, and that's why it's cool to interview you now, because it's like in the future it's like, oh, look at all these like old turntablist legends, because it's more and more DJs are being born every day, so it's cool to be able to, us as 90s cats, to really be able to, we're a limited set, because everybody else is 2000s,
Yeah, it's definitely a different breed. I've noticed that, kind of getting to know people now.
That's
like,
a distant past, like tapes and, it's like crazy.
Yeah, because now everything's online. I mean, I had a routine, not too long ago when we went against the Brolic Army, and That was one of my disses.
Oh, wow, you battled Rob Swift and...
No.
Oh,
We didn't battle. Yeah, the dudes that went to the Brolic Army.
Oh, the Brolic Army battle
or whatever. It might have gone under the radar a little bit. It was like a prelim, not a prelim, but like a opening show to the Arye battle. I don't know if you're familiar with Arye.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
So they hosted it, and the guys from Brolic Army had stepped to F&F, the guy out in New Jersey who runs the Skratcher New Jersey, and kind of worked out a battle, of us together. So it was supposed to be 4-on-4. D-Man couldn't make it, so it ended up being 3 Skratcher versus 4 Brolic Army or whatever. But
D-Man. Speaking of D-Man, he's one of my favorite. He beat me in a battle last year. He's one of my favorite turntablists of right now living, because there's only a couple of cats that I'll be like, those cats are really, really sick. D-Man's really sick, and he's not getting a lot of credit because he's East Coast, and that's another thing we can talk about too, is the East Coast West Coast thing. I'm not trying to start beef or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, it feels like the cats are dope on the East Coast. Nobody talks about like they're not getting booked. I think
people are looking for jugglers out here. They see like, that dude's a dope juggler or whatever, but a lot of times the Scratchers go unnoticed out here.
Because like if D-Man was out on the West Coast, he'd be getting, people be like, yo, come through this cut to cut or something, or something, But out here, there's no, because what's interesting is that, like, on the West Coast, hip hop has such a love for hip hop out there, where people can tour from LA to not Montreal, but to Canada, all through Seattle, and here, there's not really a circuit. It's not like, it's not like there's just mad shows and things like what do you call it that can exist, like that Daddy Kev thing, his party, I forgot what it's called, but just things like that where you can have like it's great that Road Roll bought table and then brought table turns back, because Sugar Cuts, shout out Sugar Cuts, all the people that were laying the foundation for all this turntable stuff on the East Coast, but it seems like it's great that these events are happening, but it'd be great if there was more,
definitely. Yeah. And I think that's why out west has kind of surpassed us at the East Coast in scratching as far as skill goes on a mass level, because there's dudes out there, regular dudes out west that are just like, if they come out here, we're like, yo, you nasty, whatever, and they're just like, yo, I'm just like, all right,
exactly.
So it's definitely a different bar out there, and I think that that's one of the things that I appreciate about and why I felt the need to contribute to the community of bringing people together in New York City, tri-state, because we're definitely lacking that.
Yeah.
And when I got back into turntablism, because I went through a good 6-7 years of not going to any events or not even scratching half the time.
Oh, I stopped scratching for a long period of time. Sometimes that's the best thing to evolve into the next stage of your style, because a lot of times people hit a ceiling with their style. It's like, hey, I'm doing these transforms I was doing from '94. Which could be dope, but then say they want to add more, they just can't get out of that mold. And sometimes you just take a break and you come back and your mind is a lot softer. You can take in that information.
That's a good way to put it. So I'd taken some time off and then got back into it, and just getting back into it felt really good. Like I felt like I was back home again. I was seeing a few people that I remember from back in the day, and then met new people. And with the new people, it was like, let's just get together and cut, and we started doing it. And from there, we had New Jersey Scratch League, which was like 5 or 6 of us that just kept meeting, on a regular basis. I was living up in Harlem, so everybody was thinking, because everybody just sees Instagram and whatnot, and like, oh, you're from Jersey, and like. I mean, originally, but I haven't lived in Jersey since like 2001. So, so it's like, but they were the guys that were getting together. Shout outs to Infajay.
Because out here, Jersey is, for people that don't know, it's like scratching is dead in Brooklyn. It's not like there's like Brooklyn scratching going on. New Jersey's where it's popping on the East Coast,
Although there is Brooklyn scratching, it's the thing about New York is that it's always so like separated, and it's still to an extent separated, and I'm guilty of that sometimes too. It's just, space is an issue. This place is beautiful, but most of the time you can't fit more than 4 people in a room without.
I'm gonna start having heads come through in the future, and organize stuff. You're welcome to be involved. Yeah, and I got another. See that glass table there too. I just got some more stands like this, so there could be 2 of them.
Yeah, man. definitely. Now it's necessary to keep the advancement of everybody.
Exactly.
Even people that aren't the same skill level, like somebody that might be a higher skill level, could be seeing this guy over here, for lack of a better way to put it, doing something that this guy might go, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's like, I like how you're doing that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's necessary for all levels to kind of, you know, be together and just see, you know, just vibe out together, you know.
Exactly. I think that's a very good concept about education, because you know, TTM Academy is also an educational institution. I think that, you know, the idea, like what you're saying, almost a one-room schoolhouse almost type of thing, where everybody's there, because it's like, you know, you might present a concept to a child that's 8 and a person that's 17, and they might grasp it at the same level, you know. So sometimes, you know, a lot of times people feel like, oh, you shouldn't tell a 5-year-old about physics or something, but you know, if you do, who knows? They might grasp it or they might not. Just like a person that's 15 might grasp it or not. We shouldn't necessarily assume that, like, hey, physics should only be grasped by 15-year-olds, so we're only going to tell them about this when they're 15 or something like that. So even with turntablism, it's like you see, you know, Sarah and all these little kid prodigies, you know, Skratcher, and even now, the guy from Japan, what's his name?
Starts with an R. Rumi. No, it's not Rumi.
There's a kid from New Zealand too. He was pretty young. You know, a lot of young kids coming up these days. You know, which is great to see all these like child prodigies. You know. Yeah,
they got good influences. You know, shout outs to Total Eclipse down there, Australia, getting that kid, you know, where he needs to be.
So here's a question I have: do you think kids are faster than adults?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like, do you think, you know, like a grown man with big arms, you know, and he's going like this and like that, you think a kid can go faster, like physically?
Right? I do think so, yeah. And I think they learn faster, they can go faster, execute faster, you know, and develop and all that. So I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing, kids, you know, especially like showing interest in it, you know, and that's good, you know, parenting at that level, you know. People got to raise the kids, and that's what us as a community has to also do is welcome these kids. And you know, shouts to table turns, because Skratcher, we don't have all ages friendly events.
Exactly.
We have adult only events, which is still cool because I feel like we need it. But table turns, they're open to all ages, and you know, encouraging that, you know, for kids to get up there and be a part of, you know, our community.
But I think it's cool too how, you know, especially within Europe, they have the pub culture is so much part of their thing. They're kind of mixing turntablism into the pub culture, like Cut to Cut Records, all those cats out there. Do you have any Cut to Cut stuff? I don't know if you heard that.
Oh, out of France?
No, they're out of the UK. And they, it's called, I'm not Cut to Cut, I'm sorry. What's it called? Not Cut to Cut, I'm thinking the Cut to Cut Battle, Cut and Paste Records.
Cut and Paste. Oh yeah, definitely. I do have
Cut and Paste Records. Yeah. I meant to say Cut and Paste Records. Shout out to Cut and Paste Records.
Shout out to Cut and Paste Records.
Exactly. Shout out to Cut and Paste Records for, you know, linking turntablism even with the pop culture too. Of like, because they're doing these series of documentaries that are really cool about, you know, all these turntablist events that they're doing in you know, like adult settings. You know, like at pubs and stuff like that. You know, it's really cool. I think, you know, because. It's just like skating, you know. It's like, so it could be a culture where it's like, there can be kids at a park doing it, but then you can be adults like, hey, a couple of guys grab a couple of beers and skate. A couple of people come through, and you know, women too, you know, come through and you know, cats are just, you know, being able to hang out and scratch, which is really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and now the portable things are making everything so much more accessible. You know. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah, and people can bring their portables to the sessions. That's the other really good thing about it, is that, you know, you don't have to lug around a turntable and a mixer.
Exactly.
You can just bring you know, your little portable setup and go in.
Exactly.
So that's probably to me is one of the most beneficial things, you know.
Exactly. So yeah, I was gonna ask you, because we were talking about the prices of things. You know, the things are just so expensive. Do you think in the future, because you know how they're saying that, like, oh, eventually we're gonna have newspapers that are, you know, got computers in it and it's touchscreen and it's just going to be cheap and the price of computers are going to fall. Like, do you think that the prices of mixers are going to be expensive, where you could get a crazy mixer with sampling and buttons and it's like, oh, it's $135.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's $75 in the future. Maybe this is like 10 years from now and it's only $75, and then it can be like, you know, because it can almost be like with skateboarding, how, you know, a lot of skaters can make money off of just selling their own boards. You know, just like how with Cut and Paste, you know, they're making money off people have traditionally made money from selling records, but now we can sell more things. Now we can sell faders, our own faders. We can sell all different types of, So yeah, before the camera just died, we were just talking about how, I guess Raedawn is Raedawn time with Monopoly, and it's so dominant. The prices are high, but they have the highest quality stuff.
Especially, well, it's necessary for digital DJing at this point. So unless you're going to commit to being an all vinyl DJ, you either got to get an SL box or you got to get one of these mixers. So I think the mixers are going to keep getting, a little more crazy as time goes on. I think they're going to be like Macs though, in the sense that they're just going to keep getting better, but they're going to stay at the same
price and just get more computers in it, basically.
Yeah, get more.
To where it's like, hey, it's flip it up. This laptop too now. The Ring.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. You can put a USB into it or something like that, or whatever. It's going to keep changing. I think controllers are going to go down. I think because that's just like. I don't know. I feel like that's the direction that like digital DJing for the most part is going. I think mixers are getting a little phased out. So because the market for mixers is going to be so small, they're not going to be making as many of them. So I feel like because of that, it's just going to always be at a
like guitars almost, or like just a fine car or something.
It's going to be more of a niche market that's going to be going for it, and it's going to be old school DJs, because I think most new school DJs just want straight up controllers.
You think they're just going to buy the like one of those Pioneer controllers where it's like, hey, I got all the stuff, I can do crazy stuff, this is the waveform, everything's on it.
Yeah, because
it can click, it's because those Pioneers. How do you feel about Pioneer Curve? Because I had run into Johnny Juice at before that the battle that Skratcher battle at Rock and Soul a year and a half ago, and he was saying he likes Pioneer sound. He likes the feel of Pioneer's cut of their faders. I mean, obviously Raedawn has the kind of curved top dome kind of. Curve, and most mixers have the square thing, and that is a difference too. I think that's one of the reasons why people like Raedawn too. Is that it's usually their faders are curved at the top, and it kind of feels better.
I prefer the curve on Raedawn because it's good for both mixing and the scratching. Because I was doing a mix on my Pioneer the other day, and it was my first mix on the Pioneer. I rolled down on my other ones and I kept noticing, like, when I would put the fader over to the, to cut out the right side, every now and then it would still come in, and then I had to lower the curve a little bit. And then when I lowered the curve, my cuts were a lot. It sounded like my curve was in the middle on my Raedawn. You know what I'm saying? It was like there wasn't a good balance. But I do like Pioneer equipment. Besides that little thing, I love Pioneer. Yeah, the S9 is a great mixer.
Totally. So, what's your favorite mixer right now? What would you say? The new Raedawn, or?
I haven't tried the new Raedawn, so I can't speak on it. I haven't heard. I only heard one review of it, and a person who bought it, and it was totally screwed up, and the faders were bleeding within a month, and he contacted Raedawn and was like, "Can I get a new one?" And they were like, "No, you can replace your faders."
Wow.
So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna go out and get this 72 just yet.
That's the one with the touchscreen and stuff like that.
Touchscreen, and I've heard it doesn't make that big of a difference. I mean, it's gonna get rid of the Serato face, for people that match them.
But remember, Qbert and Intel were supposed to drop that one before that. Remember they had the touchscreen. Did that ever come out?
Nah, I think it was just like a.
Was it a prototype one? Remember when they had like the buttons, like the arcade buttons on it, and the thing in the middle?
Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that come out.
Yeah.
That one stored the music on the mixer too, which was dope.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
although I don't know how I feel about. I don't know about like all-in-one stuff, because then like if the hard drive goes, then everything goes, and now if that's your crutch, then you're out of luck.
Exactly.
So, but my favorite mixer right now, I think I'd probably still say the 62. With the original faders that it came with. It was the Generation 1. I got lucky enough to get one of those.
What do you think about this? What are your favorite like portables? I mean, like the small faders.
Oh man, I got a prototype one from this guy out west.
Like Raedawn versus have you? I mean, how many of them have you tried? Because I've only tried like 2 of them or 1 of them. I mean, maybe like maybe just a one. Like I have a Stokio. I mean, I have a what do you call it? What's it? A Skratcher? No, it's a Thrasher. What is it called again?
Oh, the metal one? It was metal?
$60 one.
Yeah. It was. I think it was the original. It might have been the original.
Not the middle. Not those ones. Not the Frisk fader.
Oh, it wasn't the Frisk. Okay.
There's Frisk faders.
There's Inno fader. Then there was the.
There's the Raedawn fader.
The Raedawn fader.
There's the guy from Germany that has the big knobs on it.
Right.
I forgot his name, but his is dope.
His is real dope. That's basically like the one that I have. That mine's a prototype from this guy out west. His name's Justin. I don't even know. It's JSA Baltine or something on Instagram. But I was introduced to him through DJ Esk and DJ Ivana.
Oh yeah.
Who got shout outs, big shout outs to Ivana. And that thing works beautiful. I mean, this guy like takes a fader from one fader, takes it apart, takes like the little end pieces out, and then puts it into another type of fader, and then then he hooks up the big knobs and all that stuff. So that's been my best sound quality. The Jesse Dean had the nicest feel to it, and it was nicest, but it had like a every time like it was static every time you cut.
Click kind of
and his only suggestion was to take it out and clean it every time you use it. I'm like, who the hell wants to do that?
Exactly.
So thank God I found this dude out west, and I stick with that one. The Inno faders, the new Raedawn faders are they're dope because they have the Inno fader in them. They're big. The only thing is that it's powered. So I like your whole goal in portablism is to lead.
So it has to plug in.
It's got to plug in.
Wow,
to something.
that's weird.
So, or it's a battery or something, but it's got to be something. It needs power, and it's huge. It's like this big, So I don't know. I like the balance of the one that I have now.
Yeah. So what do you think about the ideas of things being rehashed? Because some people are saying that new turntable that has like the vinyl on it and the top is just the same as those old CD ones from back like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
like remember when that Technics came out with that one? Remember it was like clear.
Oh yeah, that was a little.
Remember that back in the day?
That didn't have the vinyl feel like this.
Yeah. So it feels like a vinyl. I haven't touched that new one.
I haven't either, but I'm assuming that it's a similar concept to like the NS7, the Newmark NS7. It's got a 245.
So it's like a real vinyl on it, and like would it move on a platter, or is it just like locked in like a piece of plastic?
I think it's locked in. I can't remember how they did it, but yeah, it's locked in somehow.
Okay.
So it's like, or you know what? I think it locks into the spindle, and then the spindle is what really tells. So that way you get the feel of the real vinyl, and then the spindle is what's moving.
So do you think? What do you think about the phase thing? Do you think the phase is going to change? Like, especially talking about the future now, turntablism. It seems like phase is the future of turntablism. Where that device, you can just put that on the turntable and it spins around.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you think that's going to take over? You think people are just going to start doing that and not even worry about just having just a random record? Because with that, it doesn't even matter what's on the record.
Yeah.
It's like you just have something to touch.
Yeah, I think it doesn't even have to be on a record. You
just
put it on the turntable
or move it. Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to take over, but I think it's I think it's a good thing. To give people, it's just options. I don't think.
You think people are always going to want to touch vinyl, or you think in the future people are going to be like, oh look, I'm just doing it with my hand, look in the air.
There might be. It could come out to something.
Yeah, cats are just like
But I think I think the vinyl you're always going to have the best control on it.
Exactly.
But people can try.
And also physics wise too, because if you just go like that, physics wise. Your head has to be like having an actual thing on an axis. You can do more things like mathematically, because it's like a give and pull. Like you got a flat surface where your hands not. If you just sky scratch, maybe you could do different things. But I don't know if sky scratching could have the same effect. Like I guess you'd be able to be like, you could do Joe Cooley's just as easy sky scratching. But I think it's easier to stop if it's a physical thing than to just stop yourself and be like.
Yeah.
Like doing tears with if somebody
no
just
friction.
Do a tear in the air in the future, like.
Yeah, because the friction helps.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if it's like you're stopping. It's an actual thing. You're actually stopping it.
Right. The phase is dope though.
Yeah, it seems like that might just take over. So my last question to you is, what do you think are ways that one, tell me about your crew. And then two, tell me about things that you think that, we talk about business on here sometimes too, future markets for turntablists. Like will we be able to sell, things to each other like how skaters do, and they have their local shops, and we can have our local turntable type of places where we're able to, you know, we're local, we're in small towns in the U.S. Like, what do you foresee as like future income streams for turntablists?
Well, first, okay, so about, you know, the crew, Skratcher, you know, that's been, that started out started up in British Columbia and worked its way out here. I kind of got introduced to it through F&F out in Jersey or whatever, so it was kind of natural, I guess, just playing the role I was, you know, doing to get people together. So that's been mainly it. It's been more like a community thing more so than like, you know, like a crew, even though it's developed into that because, you know, we get together and cut it out all the time. And as far as
but do you record those cuts?
Most of the time we don't. Yeah, we're just getting together and just jamming out and stuff, and you know, we'll jam out and then we'll drill. You know, and be like, okay, you know, and you know, see what are you working on, and we'll just try doing it, or you know, certain concept cuts like all forward. You know, like no back sounds, no back cuts. You know what I'm saying? So just like weird things like that, exercises.
That's dope. That's dope.
As far as income and whatnot, I think a lot of it's going to come through sponsorships and in getting people together, whatever types of events it is, whether it's either battles or community events. I think that's the two biggest things that we have going for us right now. And if, you know, people that are outside of the community if it generates an interest in people and they want to come out to them, it'll be there, you know, and then there will be other things, all, you know, merchandise and whatnot, you know, shirts and slip mats and just accessories that, you know, all turntablists kind of go into. I mean, think outside of the box if you're trying to, you know, come up with something. What do we need, you know? But there's always going to be stuff that we need. Like these dudes came out with phase.
Yeah,
you know, all these needs that can be, that, you know, that's the whole genius of marketing, is finding a need that people don't realize that they need yet. And I think this, you know, community thing was needed, and, you know, not in the business sense. I mean, obviously, like, you know, people got to get paid for their time. It's a lot of work putting an event together. So, you know, something needs to, that person needs to be compensated, or those people need to be compensated somehow.
Do you, my question to you is, do you think that the sponsors are going to shift in the future, or do they need to shift? Because I feel like they need to shift, because right now the sponsors tend to be DJ company sponsors, you know, and I kind of like how with the IDA they had like Reebok, I think, and they like Vice sponsor it. You know, how they're you know, getting sponsors that are outside of turntablism, being able to say like, hey, this is Chrysler or something, or whoever, because then maybe those people could, you know, bring in more money. Because I personally feel that the battling will go to another level once we can start paying everybody.
It's very true.
You know, once everybody can start getting paid, but for people to get paid, there kind of has to be unions, you know. Not always, but that's generally what a good way of partners organize things together, you know. And I think that that's why it's great to see Skratcher and bringing people together, chapters everywhere, which is a really cool thing, because, you know, the more organization, the more we can benefit from that.
Absolutely.
When you see the b-boy battles and b-girl battles, everybody's all organized, and they got council sitting out, and it's like, whoa, so, you know, mad events and sponsors, you know, because I feel like maybe with fashion, it's easier to get a local store to be like, hey, yeah, we got some clothes and here's $1,000. But I feel like the b-boys get money.
Yeah.
They get money, right? All those top breakdancers, right? They get money, right? They're getting paid, you know, like the ones that are winning the battles, you know, like the top.
Yeah, because they have prizes, you know.
Exactly, it'll be like $3,500 prize.
Right. And that's coming from, you know, like your Reeboks or your, you know, stuff like that. It's not coming from, you know, shout out to Rock and Soul, you know, they always put us, you know, giving us a home, and, you know, they'll give what they can, but it's not like Rock and Soul can give a $5,000 prize or something like that. Where you got the Red Bull battle, you know, that's come, and, you know, their prizes are ridiculous. Guitar Center, their prizes, that battle wasn't as prestigious as, say, like, even, you know, the DMC.
Yeah, but the prizes were
the prizes were ridiculous. I mean, I think Precision won a car off that thing once or something like that, like a Scion or some shit like that. It was...
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, I'm not against winning equipment. I mean, equipment's great to win, but you can only have so many speakers and mixers, you know, until you have to start selling that shit.
That's dope. And that's cool that you mentioned Precision, because I was just talking with somebody about the fact that Precision is keeping like he's using TTM and near, you know, in their studio, like the Spectacular's place, you know, underneath the poster. Precision has that thing where it has his left-handed scratches and his right-handed scratches.
Yeah.
To me, that's really genius because, you know, most people, everybody, you know, they have their hand and like, you know, some people scratch with both hands, but most people don't. Most people have their dominant hand that they scratch with, but I think for somebody to be able to be really dope in both hands is next level. Yeah. I think that's a higher level to be able to be like, yo, I can totally slice the West Coast person up with my right hand and my left hand.
Yeah, it's
right.
It's a new breed of tableist thinking that way now.
Right.
And
because if I saw that in battle, if I saw somebody be like, oh, kill it, and they just juggle, and they like kill it like that, and juggle and scratch it, really juggle, that's the highest level you can get to be able to be like, you know.
It builds the overall turntablist too when they're able to use both hands, similar or the same. You know, you've gone from being, you know, you can be a great turntablist with one hand, and now if you're a great turntablist with two hands, it's almost like having more equipment. Now you can do more stuff, you know, with what you have. You know, you got two hands, and it definitely, I think, builds up like these scratches that I've learned on this side, and then try to do them on this hand. And then it kind of brings it back into this hand, like other things. Like I feel it's a good balance for the brain to do both.
Speaking of balance, do you think that, because I'm going to eventually come back into juggling and stuff, but I've been thinking like, you know, it seems that like all these multi-click scratches and all these things can be brought into juggling. Like, you know, notice that when juggling, when people are juggling, everybody's just pretty much doing just like chirps and stabs and babies and, you know, it's pretty much just those particular core scratches, or maybe some transform a little bit, but you never see somebody being like, you know, what are the, you know, being like adding some orbits within the juggle.
Yeah.
Like I never see that.
I think there's people doing.
I never, you know, I see people like, it's always easier to scratch, like do particular scratches with phrase scratches that you can do with short pieces like a slice or a chirp or a stab or a, you know, or a rub, you know. Those are the major ones, because if you try to be like, oh, I'm gonna do a 2-click into this snare, the snare is so small that, you know, you can make a snare roll, but it's easier just to like crab it or something. Someone's gonna do a snare roll, and you see people crab sometimes within the juggle set, but within juggling, you never see a lot of the new school scratches. Like I never seen anybody like, oh, they juggled and they just did an autobahn on the vocal of the sample that's in that song, you know. And I think a lot of it maybe partially because people still see them as two separate worlds, but I think they could come back.
Yeah, it could definitely work. They added into something.
Because phrase scratching is so popular. I was telling Rob Swift, I was like, what's the difference between juggling and phrase scratching? If you think about it, it's like phrase scratching, yeah, they're using a vocal sound, but that's, if you're just phrase scratching with both hands, that's juggling, right? Because if you you're like 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and then you go 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Yeah. That's juggling. If you're phrase scratching, it's like, oh, they're just phrase scratching. But you know, if you're doing it with two hands, then it's like, oh, now you're juggling.
Right.
You know, which is kind of a cool overlap. The fact that I think phrase scratching maybe could, you know.
So it's similar to beat drumming, I think. Like phrase
scratching,
scratching,
what's the difference?
Adding beat drumming into.
Yeah.
Or phrase scratching, whichever way you think about it, into the juggle.
And how come we use, like, I'm always like, how come, to me, drumming, juggling, and scratching really could be 3 separate things within a competition. Like, I think a competition should be like, oh, 2 minutes that, 2 minutes that, 2 minutes that. Because, you know, why do you think that you never see scratch drumming that much? Because I love scratch drumming, and I never see it. Like, you never see it in the battles. You never see people just being like, just drum for like 30 seconds or something. Like, just, you know, like maybe they just drum for a second. It's like, oh, it's a breakdown, and it's just a kick in the snare, and they just drum for like a little phrase, 15 seconds, but like actually drumming. Like, look, they're a drummer, and they got some other noise, like what Craze was doing, and it just seemed way more creative around the 18 years ago.
You're hitting a bigger point, and I think that's just that people are in the mindset of how a routine is supposed to be and what it's supposed to contain, and it's almost become formatted at this point to the extent where it's maybe not as exciting as what it used to be, because you had people thinking outside the box a lot more. And right now, I don't think people are thinking outside the box as much, because, you know, people want to win, and people feel like in order to win, you have to fit a certain mold.
Exactly.
So I think that's why, you know, it's going to be good for a new battle circuit to emerge, to come out, because in order for people to have that desire to, or that push to really think outside the box, they have to feel like they have a platform where they can be different and still have a chance to win.
Exactly. And on that note, I don't know if I told you this already, but I told some other people I'm starting a battle called the TTM World Cup.
Okay.
And it's gonna be more of like a grant type of a thing where whoever can drop, and people have a whole year to do it. Whoever can drop a video with the most styles wins. Whoever can be like, look, I can do 30 different scratches and be dope. So obviously, if somebody's doing 25 scratches, another person is doing 22 scratches, and the person with 22 is like unbeat and perfect, and the person that can do 25 is real sloppy, then the 22 person might win. They might get some of those scratches taken out if it's done too sloppy. Because if you do one scratch sloppy, it becomes another scratch, and if you're not trying to execute that scratch, then it's another thing. So it's gonna be so that's just gonna be the first competition. But eventually, I'm just gonna add on different things like that. But that's just a grant, and I'm gonna give $500. Okay. But I was also toying with the idea of having rounds where each winner of a round gets like $5 or something. So then we can, like how people are playing cards, and it's like homies playing cards.
Okay.
Just like, hey, we're scratching. Who's to say that we can't add money into that? And then it could be just like playing cards.
Right.
To where it's like, oh, people are winning little games and it's making money, but somebody could be like, yo, they just won 30 battles and each battle was $10.
Right.
They just won a bunch of money. Or as they went up, the prices get higher. Like maybe it's like, yeah, I win battles I'm in semi rounds all the time. But if we had these international, because there's a lot of turntables all around.
That's true.
Hundreds of thousands. Like you see scratch videos, there's a lot of people that like that station. So it's like if there's all these people around and everybody could, put money in a little pot, people could make a lot of money.
Yeah, it's true.
If we put our money together, because it's like we're putting so much money into, Rain's pockets, Raedawn's pockets, all these people's pockets. If we actually put that money into like other turntablists,
right. Yeah.
So back in the day, I was actually just showing Dspliff this original fundamentals that I handed John Carluccio and Ethan and Bowden back in before we made TTM 1.0, and I was telling them that at that time I had created a system before I met them, but see the reason I created the fundamentals was because of Qbert, because Qbert had a competition, Qbert had a thing. For turntablists, they had an award. They had made a thing called the Global Scratch Foundation, and because they're going to premiere at ScratchCon the next year. And I was like, we got the Global Scratch Foundation, and we're going to have an award, 2 awards, the DJ Flair Award and the DJ Qbert Award. And I submitted in TTM my stuff and made a video and stuff like that. And I won, so he gave me $1,000, and then I went and put the $1,000 back in his pocket and bought a mixer. It was the 07.
The ISP.
Yeah, the ISP. Yeah.
Nice.
I just broke the power cord on it. The whole thing fell out. Not just the power cord, but the input too, and so the whole thing is messed up. It's got to be fixed. But I'm gonna get that fixed. So giving back, I think is a very important thing, and I think communities coming together is really important. So that's cool. And lastly, can we talk a little bit about for the kids in the future that want to see what's happening within like a Skratcher jam, and you guys are building off each other? Can we talk a little bit more about that? Because that was really interesting to me when you're saying like no backward scratches, like giving yourself rules and things like that. There's a guy named DJ Chile. He's a dope TTM artist as well, and he made a thing called, he was talking about making scratch games and things like that too, type
like
of
horse.
mind games. Things to do. Like training mechanisms. Just like if you're running, people do suicides where it's like, oh, you run here, run there, run here, run there, run here, run there. I've been doing some training things where I've just been doing continuous clicking. Like what kind of scratch? What are all the different scratches I can do if I'm continuously clicking? Like to never pause, just being like, okay, I'm just continuously clicking. It's like, oh, I can transform. Like, oh, continuously clicking. Look, now I'm chirping. Continue, and just things like that. Like there's so many scratches out there. There's so many different things you can make. But what kind of things are you guys doing? That's off camera, because on camera we see people like, oh, it's a round table, it's a cipher.
Yeah. I mean, I just basically all levels. Like we even down.
You guys are sharing
just
stuff?
down to juggling.
You guys are sharing scratches, or is Spectacular like, yo, yeah, I'm doing that. I'll do it a couple times for you. I'm not gonna do it too much, or everybody's totally organic and where everybody's just like, hey, yeah, I'll teach you to scratch, or
usually comes out organically in the sense where it's like whatever, you know, even if he's like seeing or trying to like suggest a new way or something to add into a scratch that we're doing, he'll just come up with something, be like, okay, you know, like the forward scratches only, like no backward scratches, like, you know, and then we got into like doing fast clicks on even phrase cuts. So that little first sound, you know, to get it to sound the two clicks.
You know, click orbit in it.
So you know, I think that anything like that's gonna make you know, that's gonna make you be repetitive in getting over your habits. Basically, is what it comes down to. It's like getting over your habits, the things that you do. You know, when you're just like thinking.
Especially us being older turntablists too, because I think the older you get, it's easier to get locked into your old habits. So it's like, how can I, to advance is actually almost being able to break through your own habits and you know, because it's like, you know, I've got a lot of friends that have been DJing just as long as me, and they still DJ how they used to sound, you know, way back in the day, where it's like, you know, I found in the past, like maybe 4 years, I've advanced more just by focusing on particular scratches versus jamming too much. Because before I used to, like in the late 99, I probably just like, oh, I'm scratching for 3 hours straight over 3 albums. Like, oh, I just played a whole Skratcher album, played a whole Aphex album. I played all these you know, instrumentals, and I just scratched and my arm's tired. And you know, that helps me be a good performer. I think that's when you're practicing that, but it's not necessarily teaching you any type of particular scratch
technique.
Exactly. Even if you're doing the scratches within it and trying to do it over and over again, I think it's better to start out slow. Like if you're speaking to somebody like ABCs and like just being able to do it at any speed, being able to do it first slow versus being able to do it sloppily and then practice it sloppily and then you get locked into it and then you can only do that. And that becomes your style when you get, you know, locked into certain things, you know, because that's what a style is. It's almost like a crystallization of somebody's ability. But then some people, their styles are evolving, you know. I was just talking about like Dopez. Like to me, Dopez is really sick. He's one of the top in the world to me. But I think he's still at a similar level that he was 7 years ago. Still though too, because he's sick. He was way sick then. Like because people are just starting to catch up. But I think that, you know, he's at a super high level. But you know, he hasn't added a lot of newer things. So he's still at a similar level to where he was before. I think since, you know, in the past like 5-6 years.
Yeah,
you know?
just a little cleaner now.
It might be cleaner, but he's not necessarily dropping new stuff, you know, where it's like you see some other people and it's just like, you know, I see D-Man, I'm like, wow, he just got better, you know, I see people that are constantly get better, you know, that they're adding new styles.
And that's where the challenges come in, you know, and it's even been on the juggle tip, you know, and they're, you know, Spix showing him, giving him, you know, juggle patterns to work on, and he's giving it to me too, and I'm just like, I don't know, they kind of been going over my head. Like, I need to work on its fundamentals, you know, and that's, you know, it's just like scratching. Like you gotta have the fundamentals before you start trying to do the next level. You can hear it and you can you know, think about it and try it, but you need to work on the fundamentals, and I think that's the biggest thing of, you know, being around people like Spectacular and Precision have been like to show, you know, like this is the basic fundamental of you know, of this, and then learning that, and you know, I'll just go home and sound, you know, silly, you know, for days trying to do this scratch, and then and eventually, you know, I'll get it, and that I think has added to my scratch vocabulary more so in the past year and a half, I think, than in the past 15 years combined.
Yeah, dope. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's these scratch techniques. Like, the way you learn is very, very important, because just doing something over and over again if you learn the wrong thing, or you know, and repetition is good though. You know, repetition is
like, for example, playing when I was younger, playing piano, I used to know how to play I know how to play Silent Night. So I played it a certain way, right? And then when I went into my music class as a senior, it was a recording class. You know, to perform Silent Night, so I went up there and I did it, and they were just like, it's completely wrong, because it was like the wrong key and everything, but it still sounded like Silent Night. You know, if anybody heard it, they'd be like, oh, it's Silent Night. but it wasn't the right way.
Uh-huh.
And that's the thing with music. There might not be a right, correct way for music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be anything, that's with the beauty of music. But I think that there is, to an extent, if you're trying to do something, you do it the right way. If you're trying to do your own thing, do it your way. That's fine, But if you are trying to do something and replicate it, well, do it the way. It's basically like doing somebody's routine. That's the other thing that sometimes we'll do over there. Like Total Eclipse had a video of Snoop Dogg. Total Eclipse was juggling a Snoop song, and we Spectacular went and figured it out in like maybe 2 minutes and was able to replicate the whole routine.
Wow.
And then he was like, okay, so this is what he's doing
right there, yeah.
And then D-Man got on. It took him maybe like 15 minutes to get that first little part or whatever. And me, I got like the first like 2 counts of the bar. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't even get past the first bar. I might have got the first bar and that was it. But you do things like that over and over and over again, and you will learn. If you do it the same exact way that Eclipse is doing, Total Eclipse is doing it, you will learn that technique and you will learn that fundamental. Now you're not going to go out and perform that, but you're going to learn that fundamental, and that's why that's why that's important to learn. Now you take that and you do something else with it after you got that fundamental down. Now add your flair to it, add your style.
But now speaking of the fundamentals, how do you feel about this is kind of linked with the portablist thing? What if somebody just comes into the game like? Because I think this is what a lot of people fear. I mean, that's kind of what Rob Swift was talking about. Somebody just being like, "Hey, I don't even want to learn how to DJ. I don't care about learning how to mix. I don't care about crate digging. I don't care about anything about DJing. I just want to get on this portable and make a noise and only use or something. There's cats are like that. Like, hey, there's somebody, the homie might have a homie in their crew, like, yeah, they don't collect records, but they have a portable and they scratch with their homies. Do you think a person should have to, kind of learn how to DJ?
If they don't want to, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I think that people need to stop judging other people that are trying to be creative, and saying that you need to do this, that, and the other. But on the same token, if you look at people that are criticizing, this part of the culture of turntablism, when it's an entirely, it's this big thing, and if you're criticizing just scratching and just people that only want to cut, I mean, what's wrong with that? Because, there's people on this side that all they want to do is juggle.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't heard, there's numerous DJs out there who I haven't heard their scratch skills improve over the years, and if anything, have diminished. Or, you're not getting into, you're still doing, the old patterns. You're only focusing on the fundamentals. You're not appreciating the developments that it's come into.
Styles,
because there are a lot of new
styles in there, because like P-Trix added a lot, so many people, all the craze styles. I've never seen people use two sounds these days. Where how crazy was, be like, oh, one sound's looping, the other sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. Two different sounds. That's coming back now. I mean. I've seen routines. Rolly just did something with 2 different songs. Back in early 2000s, I had a routine with 2 different songs. It's that thinking outside the box that some people just don't appreciate, and they just want to see things the way that they were. And this is the same thing in all hip hop. I mean, you have you got new mumble rap coming out now, and people talk smack about I can't understand them and this, that, and the other, but. Guess what? That's a new style in hip hop. What are you going to do about it? You're just going to say that that's not hip hop anymore? You could say that they're not.
Just like the Impressionists, they started slurring their the paintbrush and smushing it more. Same thing. It's like, hey, people are allowed to do is paint.
It's creativity.
Lyrics are just stuff they're putting out there. Yeah.
And if that's the way that person wants to do it, who are we to say that that's not hip hop?